Welcome to Straight No Chaser. This is episode 15. I'm here with my co-host today, and we have our guest Chessa. Chessa, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on. We we heard all about your plans this summer, but for I'm sure there are viewers that don't know, but we'll get into that a bit later. I think Alex wants to start off with a few questions for you.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on the show, Chessa. So, as you know, we all know you pretty well, but I figured the audience could get some time to know you. So, what are you studying right now? I know you go to Suffolk with us, but what are you majoring in, and why did it interest you to pick that as your major?
Yeah, for those who don't know, I was roommates with the boys last year, but
Hey,
I'm studying.
608, shout out.
10 West, 14
Yeah.
dead mice.
17.
And five noise complaints.
That June killed every time. But I'm studying law and public policy. I'm supposed to graduate, I think, the following semester, and I think I'm going to stay with Suffolk for the master's program. And I have a minor in environmental studies. I got into law and public policy because I thought I was going to be a lawyer and have since changed plans with that and added the environmental studies because I think I'm going to go more towards the policy route. But I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I'm kind of just keep on going through college because it's cheaper, honestly, just to keep getting a master's degree. And I figure it'll help me get a job and stuff that's better paying later on.
Yeah.
So it's more of like an investment long term.
When did you make the decision to go for the master's? Because I'm also going to be in the same pursuit. I know Abby is as well. When did you make that decision? Because when we were living together, I could have sworn you were going to still go law school route.
Oh yeah, I've actually been studying for the LSAT for over a year and a half. And like you guys said, we'll talk about the road trip later, but I didn't decide until this summer that I wasn't going to go to law school anymore and that I wanted to be more on the human side of things, I guess, but still work in the legal field. So for my master's, I'm probably going to do applied politics or public administration, like something, or sociology and criminology, but still in the same realm. I just don't want to do the legal side of it because I don't think I have the I don't want to say like the strength, but I don't think it's
The
for me.
lack
I
of
don't think it's,
soul,
yeah, like,
lack of heart
the
to be a
I,
lawyer.
the
yeah, like, you
coldness
know
from
how it
deep
goes.
within.
Yeah, I, I see these cases sometimes, and I'm just like, if I was on the stand, I'd probably be crying. I don't
Yeah.
think I have it in me to just, defend murderers. I don't have it, so I
Well,
decided to switch it up.
crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I could do both sides of it. So here I am trying to figure it out, I guess. But
Yeah. That makes sense, actually. I
Absolutely.
thought I was going to be a lawyer at one point, too. But then I was like, I don't want to spend most of my days reading shit. Like,
You'd rather watch TV.
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't quite ready to sell my soul plus pay like 300 grand and not guarantee not being depressed and an alcoholic. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, let's
exactly.
let's take this pasture route.
That's fair. That's a fair choice. But I know you definitely had like an insane amount of experience though. Like you definitely have the qualifications to pursue like something in politics or law because I know you were an intern at the State House as I was as well. We were in different departments. And you were also an intern at the Attorney General for Massachusetts. So if you want to talk a little bit about like what you took away from these internships and a little bit about how the experience was like.
Yeah, so the State House I did in more administration role, which was when I was younger and in high school, which taught me a lot about kind of state and local politics. And then this past summer, I did a finance internship with them, which was more so about data collection, kind of more so what like a does. But so it wasn't as interesting, but I thought it was really helpful in understanding kind of how campaign finance works and the structure of it, I suppose. And the Attorney General's office I worked at or interned at as a legal intern for a few months, and learned a lot about the legal field in a really short amount of time. The people there are absolutely brilliant, and it was the first kind of thrown in the pit type of situation I had. Like, it was definitely a shock in the beginning, and it took a lot to adjust to. And kind of was like working with the big dogs, I guess, for the first time. And I was like the only person under 25, let alone a girl. And I was sitting there like trying to wear like horrible pantsuits, walking up Beacon Hill every day. But in the end, like, I learned a lot about professionalism in general and more about the structure of how the government works. I think beforehand, like, our experience is kind of limited in that field, or the professionalism we have is more focused on like business presentations in school and stuff. So that was the first real job opportunity I had, and I took a lot away from that. I think being able to just compose yourself in that type of environment when it's high tense. But I couldn't recommend it enough. It was really fun. I enjoyed working there.
Absolutely. That's very interesting. In addition, this summer you took a road trip and you went all across the country. Big takeaways. I know you mentioned that there was a different experience everywhere you went in different regions, and maybe give a few of your favorite places that you went.
Yeah. So geographically, I went along the top half of the country and kind of went through the Midwest to the West Coast, and then swang down and then zigzagged back through. So for the first half, it was a culture shock, to say the least. Driving through the Midwest was a little bit different. And if I had to say, probably the scariest safety-wise when I was traveling alone as a girl. Oh, and then for people, it's weird talking to you guys because I feel like you already know, but I built out a van that I converted into like a mini camper type thing. And I traveled alone, so I would stay in that, like my bed was in it. So most of the time I would camp out in national parks. So it was a little bit sketchy at points. But Lake Erie was one of the best experiences I had in that part of the country. I went on this weird little state park island, could not recommend it enough.
Yeah.
And then after that, not to skip through, but I'd go straight to Wyoming. And Yosemite, in Yellowstone, of course, everyone can talk about, but staying in the Grand Tetons, which is right below it, was probably the coolest thing ever. I got to camp out in, you can do like hikes into the woods, and came across a bunch of like black bears and stuff, which are actually like really, so the thing is, brown bears, they're terrifying, but black bears, like in the wilderness, you just clap and they're like stupid dogs and run away. They're adorable, but it was a really cool experience to have going through there and camping. And it's kind of hard to describe, but adjusting to making food in a kitchen and sleeping in a house with like locks and having running water compared to like camping when I was in the Tetons. I stayed there for a few days and kind of did the backpack route for half of it, and it was just really weird, like living off the environment. It was very into the wild versus the
Alaska.
not including the ending, of course, but
Alaska is next for you, eh?
It actually is. I'm planning on doing Canada and possibly Alaska this upcoming summer with the van.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If COVID works out.
That's really cool.
I actually have a follow-up question. So you said during the summer, that's when you decided to change and you took maybe more of a shift towards the masters. So was that inspired from all your experiences in Yellowstone and the national parks across the U.S. and when you were like out in nature by yourself and just like the experiences and beauty that you saw out there?
Yeah, not to sound like a complete hippie, but I was definitely one of those people. And, I'm sure we'll talk about later when we get into politics. There was a few things or many things like on a daily basis that I came across, or people who were just like horrible. But at the same time, I met so many cool people of just like such adverse backgrounds and ideas and thoughts, and just completely different from people I've ever met before. And I feel like I have friends all over the country now. And just going through that experience and seeing all these like super hippie, cool people just living their life, I kind of had a moment where I was like, do I want to be miserable for the rest of my life? Because I got into law kind of with the naive, I want to help people thing, but that's not really how law school goes. It kind of sucks. So I decided to kind of move more towards a public policy based legal thing. I might still get my JD, who knows? But for right now, I kind of just want to like, it was a hippie moment, and I realized like I want to be with people and do that instead of behind the scenes type of stuff in the court, if that makes sense. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
I have one more follow-up question.
Yeah.
So from like stereotypes from across different regions of the country, what people from or what state or region surprised you the most based on what you thought to how they actually were?
Oregon
was,
and I have to say I did not go to the coast because the weather, I was going down the West Coast, and that was right before the wildfires started in California. I got out in like the nick of time, but they had warnings and stuff. So I decided not to go to Portland. So I say that with this because I didn't go to that side, but I went along the Oregon Trail and some of the national parks and came across a lot of like really disturbing KKK sediments and like areas. Yeah, which was just really surprising. And like I said, take that with a grain of salt because I did not interact with a lot of people there. It was just I went for a quick hike for a few days type of thing. But that was very surprising. And then people in Arizona, I was anticipating it to be, I don't want to say more Republican, but when I was going into Arizona,
just
I was going
more,
past.
Little more.
Yeah,
they have their
so
reputation.
Listen,
just a dab, just a sprinkle of seasoning.
I had just come
Sheriff
from
Joe
Utah.
is from there.
No, I had just come from Utah, and I was going through, so I was like already kind of uneasy. And then going in, there was a lot of I guess vulgar political signs. And then when I got into the pit of it, it was just a lot of honestly like Christian grandmas who smoked a lot of weed, and it was really fun. Like it was really surprising, but really fun. But some places really fit the stereotype too. Like when I was in Santa Barbara, it was out of Mean Girls. It was hilarious. Like I would overhear conversations, and they'd be like literally talking about buying clothes from their dad and stuff. Like it was so bizarre. But
I love Santa Barbara. That has some of the nicest like mix of like some of that's like the perfect like mid-sized Cali city with like the beach and this like surf shops and the mountains. And I remember I bought weed from some kid on the street there when I went back like a couple of years ago because the people there they just take life like way slower than out here.
yeah, when I was in Santa Cruz, which was about an hour north. That's supposed to be like the more hippie side, and I was sitting on the beach like just hanging out watching fucking seals going by because that just is normal there.
Yeah.
And I had this like group of college students offer me a joint just like hanging out there, and I was like, I don't know you people. Like, is this just how it is here? Because I kind of want to move. Like it was just very hippie college town vibes for most of the West Coast, which was really fun.
Awesome.
I actually, so I was curious, if you were to like narrow it down, what states would you say you kind of had like the best time in?
I had a really good time, believe it or not, in Idaho.
Idaho, yeah.
I heard it's gorgeous there though.
I heard it doesn't exist. It's
Uh,
not a
I
place.
thought that was
You
Wyoming.
ever met a person from Idaho? Well, actually, Chessa has.
Chessa probably, yeah.
Shout out to Mike and Andrew. I met these two guys in separate spots, but in a few small towns that I wasn't meaning to stop in. And then I stayed a few extra days just because some of the people there I met were like really fucking cool. It was really surprising too because they're very. The first day I got there on Sunday, and I went in to go to this little cute little town, and everything was closed, literally because it's God's Day. And I was like in a whole other world. But then the other side of town has like these little witch shops and like weed. It was so weird. So that was really fun. And then I
Wait,
really liked.
by witch shops you mean like what? Like they have like ointments and like potions and stuff, or like?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't mean that in like a Salem way. I
Oh,
meant like
okay.
they they literally had like skeletons that you could buy for I don't know, like worships, I guess, and
So it's
whatever
like
they do with them.
like a pagan worshiping
Yeah,
shop.
It's like
Okay.
voodoo
like
sort of.
genuine. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like genuinely. It wasn't
Oh
like a
wait, was it like kind of like was it like kind of like what's that stuff I'm thinking of? Was it sort of was it run by people who were like part of like one of the native tribes, or was it like
no, no, it
run by
wasn't
white
like
people? Okay.
no,
I
it
thought
was
it could
white
have been
people.
part of like
Yeah,
the
it was
peyote
funny.
like stuff.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
I saw a bunch of those when I was in the Four Corners, like New Mexico and
Oh,
that
Oh.
those are
area, which were
cool.
really, really cool. But this was just like white people wild in with like bat skeletons and stuff. So
Yeah.
it was really funny.
And then
I
all
have
right,
one more
That's
so
question.
well,
Oh, can I go?
we still
This
haven't
one.
really gone through after Idaho.
Oh, this also ties together kind of. So
Yeah,
what part of the country was most decimated? Like what part was abandoned the most?
a
Like
band.
in your travels, like places that were once you think active but no longer.
Um, I think when I was going through Nevada and Arizona was definitely the most abandoned stuff. The Midwest was scary because it'd be like 200 miles in between towns. But a lot of that area, it was really creepy. They would just be like concrete frames because all the houses are kind of built the same way there because of the heat. And be driving through and it would just be the concrete frame and then, or like blocks, and then everything else is burnt down. I I mean, you guys saw the pictures I posted in California, but there was like gas stations that had clearly completely burnt down in flames that were still there. And then uh, I mentioned this earlier, but I there's this one place somewhere in Nevada, don't know where, couldn't tell you, but it's like this huge pink motel with like satanic rituals all over it, spray painted with like Latin and stuff. So that area of the country was definitely the most abandoned things, but I think that was also because of the climate. Like it things burn down there so easily. Like I feel like
Yeah.
at some point there's not much you can do. Like when I was in that area, it was when I was in Arizona, it was 121. Like there was a heat wave. And when I was at the Grand Canyon, it was 128 degrees. It was
Oh.
it was too
Damn.
much, too much. I
Yeah.
don't know how people live there. It was not it.
Well, I mean, they test nukes out there for a reason, right?
It was like, oh, I see why more Republicans live there. Like, I don't understand like how. But
All right, but so back to the previous question. What other places did you enjoy the most after Idaho?
uh, the West Coast for sure. I loved San Francisco was
Oh, that
unbelievable.
must have been fun.
As yeah, as part of that community, going to San Fran for the first time, it was like holy lights going on, you know? It was really weird to take in because I've never I mean Boston is a okay well it has a pretty big gay community, but it's not
Yeah.
like it's not the same. It's San Francisco, you know? Like when I was there, it was a whole other world because everywhere you looked it was just like crazy art and everyone was gay. Like
Yeah.
it was wonderful. And then next stop I'd say uh Grand Canyon was great, but those would be like more of the top ones.
Yeah, just like
Um,
stuff that's like you just feel so like insignificant standing next to it, you know, but like in a good way.
Yes, yeah, in a good way. One of the things that irritated me most on the trip was I'd be at Yellowstone or wherever it may be, these beautiful places, and tourists would just be like, get in, and like take pictures and then walk off. And I'd be like, guys, like, do you not see? But even at the Grand Canyon, there would be families with like kids, and everyone was just silent for a few seconds at least, just staring at it, just like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's really weird to think about. The rocks there are older than the dinosaurs. So it's weird to
Yeah.
conceptualize how small you are.
It's interesting that you said San Francisco was one of your favorite places because I always thought like if I didn't live in Boston, San Francisco is one of the other cities because it's a major tech hub. Were there
Mhm.
any other cities that you liked a lot in your travels, like in different parts of the country? One that stood out, like oh maybe I could live here potentially.
Live there. San Fran was the first one, and I being from it reminds me a lot of Boston actually. I mean, the streets of course are all different, but the architecture is really similar, and it reminds me of the same environment but friendlier and more art. So I love San Fran. I think you would too. But other than that, city-wise. Uh, there weren't many cities that I liked at all, and I honestly
Yeah.
avoided cities as much as I could because of COVID. I was just trying to hang out and hike and be high, if I'm
Yeah.
honest.
See,
Just
I was
vibing
That
gonna
with
makes
say,
sense.
nature.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
it was
say
pretty
that
awesome.
too for what I was gonna say. Like, so like I think I like how you kind of focused on going in like national parks and nature reserves because I've been to like a lot of different parts of the country. I've traveled like kind of out there too. But I mainly like I feel like a lot of people did what I do and go more for like the cities because I would like Chicago, for example. I know that was one of the places I like and I visited, and like St. Louis, like people will go there. But I like how you like hit a lot of the parks that people like. Even like I know the Grand Canyon, a lot of people visit, but there's so many like hidden things out there. Like you said, that place in Nevada, or you said like along Lake Erie, for example.
Mhm.
And I think people kind of take for granted the natural beauty that this country has to offer.
Yeah, I actually like based my entire road trip off of national parks. I think I did 60 something like major ones.
Damn.
But it's just people we the thing is I feel like in my opinion you can go to the city whenever you want. Like you could be 70 and sure you can't get drunk and like do the activity stuff, but you can enjoy a city just as much. But
Yeah.
for me it's like I most days I hiked at least 4 or 5 hours or was just fucking around with stuff like that. And it's like you can't always do that, like there's gonna be a point where you get too old or you don't have enough time. And like the Lake Erie example, I in my van, like my bed's in the back, so I can open out the back doors for people who like don't know what camper vans are, I guess. But like Lake Erie, I was on this pretty much this mini island and woke up to like the birds chirping over the lake and kayaking at 6 a.m. because I can. And like when I was in Yellowstone, I'd be in the middle of the forest and just like wake up to that stuff. Or I one time got to do the Buffalo grasslands, which was so cool. Like bison buffalo, they are amazing. They are so cool, and you just wake up and they're just chilling there. And I think that's way cooler in my opinion than cities, I guess. I mean, I'm a huge city person. I love Boston, but at the same time, like, how often can you hike like that? So I
Yeah.
figured, why not? Got a killer farmer's tan, but.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that's interesting because I'd like to see more of the nature out there. Like I feel like I said, like most of the time I've gone out there, it's gone to go to cities. Or in Cali, I was hiking a little bit, but it was like near LA. Did you go to LA actually at all?
Yeah, I have a friend from high school that I went to go visit, and I can say this because I've driven in almost every city so far. Even if I didn't go to it, I had to drive through it. Like LA's driving is fucking horrible. It is the worst by far. I've been through almost every single one, and it is worse than DC. Like
Like
unbelievable.
traffic
Yeah.
wise or like stupid driver wise? Because I think Philly's up there for stupid driver in New York too.
The drivers honestly weren't that bad. It's the fucking 7 lane highways
Gridlock.
and
Yeah.
like it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely no sense.
So
But
intense.
LA was just so smoggy. It was really kind of gross to drive through. Like my lungs were going through it when I was going through that area.
Yeah. Damn. That's one thing I'm pretty grateful for with Boston. It's so like, since it's kind of on the smaller side of a city, like most people like they moved housing out and around the city, so the actual city stays pretty clean.
The only thing that really bothers me about Boston is the layout of the city. It's not on a grid, and I'll never forgive whoever the city planners were like back in the
It's like
60s
every
and
city in
70s.
Europe.
What do you
That
mean?
adds to
from, like, the
Boston's character.
1700s.
No, it
Makes
doesn't
more-
though,
yeah, it
because like
does.
I remember 2 years ago we had #1 city for traffic congestion. Like, and LA is right
Yeah.
there. I think LA overtook
Jake cares
us
more
actually.
about the
so-
stats. He's like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but
but,
Jake,
like-
they built that when people didn't have cars, dude. You have to understand.
Yeah, like
Like-
I was gonna say, you gotta get it. Like
Like Europe.
we built that shit however long ago because we needed horses to go places. LA had time to plan and they still fucked it
They
up.
literally
Like, that's
burned
the-
New York
that's the
down.
difference.
They literally burned New York down to build a grid. Like,
Yeah.
Boston preserves its history. That's part of the city.
Yeah, there aren't that many cities that are like that old style in the U.S. anymore. They're mostly all in New England.
Yeah.
hmm
Jake doesn't like it. He's like, you gotta move on to modern times.
I literally am like that. I still disagree.
Why don't you go live in Texas then?
Yeah, bro, go live in like Dallas or something.
Austin. If I was living in Texas, it'd be Austin,
Nah,
Texas.
Houston seems pretty cool too. Honestly,
Nah,
any of
Austin-
those cities. Atlanta's pretty sick. Cities all around the U.S. I think are pretty cool.
I was gonna say I need to check out more. I want to check out more of the nature out west, definitely, like what Chessa did, because I've really been to the Northeast, the Midwest, and I've been down south. Those are, like, the regions I've been. I've been to Cali a couple times, but that's it. I want to check out like the Rockies, and I've only seen them from the plane and
Yeah, I
shit.
really want to see the Rockies too. I also want to see like some of the lakes
Yosemite.
over by like Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan. I want to see those lakes.
That's nice. I've been there.
Yeah,
We'll
I've
say.
never been.
What was the most like I think we kind of asked something similar to this, but like the most like surprising kind of things you saw, like the things you didn't expect to see. Not really just people, but like you didn't realize it was, like there was this place there, you know what I mean? Like there's like a hidden gem sort of.
There's this town. I still talk to the people I met there, so they're gonna hate me for this later. It's called like it literally sounds like Durango, but it's not. It's in Colorado. It's about an hour south of Denver. It was the coolest little like coffee shop artist town I've ever seen, and they had a dispensary like every other street. It was awesome. And then at the same time, they also had so regarding like just respecting Native American like heritage and culture, most of the United States sucks at it. And like when I was at Rushmore, like people were protesting the Native American protesters, just to clarify. But
Yeah.
in Colorado,
shit.
in this part, they had like a local, because I was there for one of the national forests, they had a local like complete local section of the downtown just dedicated to a space for the local community to like sell art and stuff. So it was just like this perfect mix of little hippie town in the middle of Colorado, which was just beautiful. And then this other cool one that stands out, I think it was in Iowa. It was called Walnut.
Oh.
But it's weird to explain, but they're like the biggest antique place in the whole country. Its entire town is just all antique stores. That was really fun to walk through. It was like 200 different stores. Like envision a normal sized downtown, but only antique stores and all brick. It was that. That was really cool too. Yeah. Other than that, it was more so just like, I don't know, like this river is awesome to swim in, which would be so obscure to recall, but most of it was just like really cool hiking spots. So if any listeners or any of you guys ever find yourself there, I have like an absurd amount of hiking lists and like weird circles on them to describe which places to visit. So the wonders of like hidden wonders, I guess, are more so in the national parks that I visited. If that doesn't sound too cheesy, that's more so where I spend my time though. So
I
Yeah.
actually think I have the perfect closing question for the segment.
yeah,
So how was the overall experience living in a van and traveling around the country in a van? Space constraints were obviously a big deal throughout the
yeah,
travels. Did you have running water?
no.
No. So how was
Uh,
that overall experience?
Depends on the situation.
Mhm.
I think if I had like a dog, a gun, or someone else with me, I would be much more comfortable.
Yeah.
You guys know I carried a machete most of the time and like a
Yeah.
buck knife on my hip, mainly for bears, but also people. Uh, it was pretty rough, like shower wise. That sucked. I hated that. Because you have to shower every single day when you're in like the Rockies, because your sweat can attract bears. So that was,
Oh,
I hated showering outside. As someone with like a tiny bladder, that was a living hell because I have to pull off all the time. And it was really scary sometimes. Like for the most part, I felt okay, and usually there was a few. Again, I met so many really cool people and friends that we would have campfires at night together. We'd be like, "Oh, you're also camping alone," so that happened a lot, and it was great. But there was a few times people tried to like break into the van or uh, creepy guys that made me feel very unsafe would be surrounding or like
damn.
just following and stuff. That happened a few times, but nothing to the point that I felt like uh, I of course I was scared, but it's like whatever because I set up this thing on my van where you can't unlock the doors, so I just drove away each time it happened. It was fine, and like there's a few times I had to call like a park ranger, but those all got sorted, so I think I was lucky on that part. I think it could have gone worse, but overall, like the longer I spent, um, kind of like with the van life thing, the more I got used to it because it was certainly an adjustment in the beginning. I think coffee is a good example. Like at home, you just put up the Keurig and don't even think about it. When I was on the road, it usually took about half an hour to make a cup of coffee in the morning, and
Yeah.
like get up and going between like boiling the water, getting my grill up and running, like starting the flames for it, and sometimes having to start a
Wait,
fire
so
if
yeah, you kept like a kit just to like start fires and stuff whenever you had to cook and everything? Damn.
Yeah, most of the time I used a propane grill because of the fire warnings. But pretty much I did just adding on to the hippie stereotype, did like all raw diet, I guess. Like I only bought food from farmers markets if I could. Of course, like I can't buy milk and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but like pretty much just veggies and meat and cooked every meal like from scratch, which was very different from living here. But I think it made me a lot more appreciative of things. And now I'm like, I could do that anytime. Whereas before it was kind of hard to imagine. Like, could you guys imagine right now cooking, like just dropping everything and adjusting? It takes a while, but
Yeah.
it was really cool getting used to it because now I just want to do it all the time and like it's a lot easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that makes you realize how many different kinds of people there are across the country
Yeah.
and how they all have these different kind of lifestyles, and it's like it'd be, yeah, if you were to live that life, it takes some getting used to, like
But
doing
it's
everything
very
from
doable.
scratch.
And
Yeah,
like
it's like a cool experience.
opened my eyes a lot about minimalism, I guess. And I've always been like an environmental person. You guys know that. And like obviously with a minor and stuff in it. But the like reducing your waste and stuff, living from scratch is a lot easier than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I encourage other people to do it.
All right. So
As
moving
speaking of
on.
different kinds of
Yeah,
people,
we were just
Yeah.
we were just speaking about some of the more like hidden gems and beautiful things of America. And now we're gonna get into the more raunchy, dark side of America.
Cesspool, if you
Politics.
will.
Cesspool is a word that fits very well.
Yeah.
Uh, so the 2020 election for basically, it's crazy between Biden and Trump
close.
presidential race. Senate race is close. I don't think Dems will take the House. Or I don't think Dems will take the Senate. I think Dems will take the House. It's looking
Yeah.
like they might.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our next topic up for today. Let me do a quick. This is where we are right now. Right now, Biden is very close to closing, but it's still a very close race. So don't sleep on Trump quite yet. I'm saying this. I want Biden to win, but like as we learned last year,
All right, can
nothing is
we get a
impossible.
close up on two states? So start with Nevada. So can you
Close-up?
click in on? Yeah, like a close up. So click on the state. What's it say? 70. What? How much is reporting? It should be in the top of it.
75%. This is easier.
Reporting. How much is Biden ahead by?
Biden's ahead by 8,000 votes. This is what's scary. So in Nevada, they decided they're not going to count votes until tomorrow, Thursday.
9 a.m.
Yeah, because but they're giving what's reassuring about it is Biden was ahead on election day in-person votes, and the reason why they're waiting until Thursday is for all the mail-in ballots to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a good sign.
And then obviously the other state is Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania's the other big one. So what's crazy about Pennsylvania is Biden was actually down by like 300,000 votes like midday. And now now that a lot of mail-in ballots and like blue regions of Pennsylvania have like started counting and putting it in and reporting it, Biden made up a huge amount of ground in terms of like only like 3% was reported, and Biden made up like he closed like a 200,000 vote gap. So it's still another 200,000 votes to go. That's no easy feat. Yeah, but so coming back to the podcast, just thoughts, you guys. How do you guys feel about these past couple days?
All right, so I guess I'll kick it off as a pretty extreme libertarian in the sense that I didn't really have a dog in the fight. The reason I pushed for Biden is because, like, if you're trying to restore the integrity of the presidency, I think it makes a lot more sense to try and put Biden in the office. And it's interesting to see how this whole thing's been playing out because I still think Biden's going to take it. I don't know what the electoral count will be because I really don't know what's going to happen in Pennsylvania, but I think Biden's definitely going to get to 270 because I don't see Nevada changing. And if he was to win Nevada, it's obviously over at that point. So I'm interested to hear your guys'
Nevada
takes.
gets
But that's
exactly 270.
my big point is restoring the integrity to the presidency because I think even like Trump tried to like call the election like on election night, like before all the votes were tallied. He's like, let's just stop counting votes. I'm ahead or something like that. And like that's terrifying for democracy.
Yeah, he's trying to get entire states to stop counting votes. Like the vote already happened. He's trying to get states to stop counting them.
And then he's threatening to sue the ones that are close for fraud, saying that they're like faking it.
That's like batshit crazy, man. I don't understand.
And there's still no proof of any voter fraud. Every election he's claimed like large scale voter fraud.
Voter fraud. For some reason, Republicans fucking love.
But it's like shown as such a minuscule percentage of the election, like not even like an affecting.
The irony is they cite voter fraud when they're the ones who try to make it mad difficult for like urban areas and areas of minorities to vote.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, did you hear about that pipe bursting in like Georgia, I think it was, or something?
No.
And, like the fucking conveniently in this like low income area.
Yeah, and it's also like, I don't know if you guys saw his Twitter, but just about every single tweet Trump has put out in the last 24 hours has been flagged with like, this could lead to political disinformation. Yeah. And he tweeted out today, he said, we're claiming, and then it was like, we're claiming, comma, for the Electoral College, comma, and then like blah, 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 North Carolina, Georgia,
it's like, yeah.
Michigan. And I was like, you can't claim vote. Like that's not.
That's
Uh,
not how
Like
democracy
yeah,
your
you're
works.
name
probably
isn't
gonna win,
Napoleon.
but
Like you don't
yeah,
just
like
claim
I'm sure.
land.
Also, the irony too is in Michigan and Wisconsin. So he was leading, I think, in at least one of them, if not both.
I both,
Last
I'm pretty sure
election.
early on.
No,
Oh
no,
no.
last, no,
Okay.
last. I'm talking about last election, right? Right, and then the Dems, or I think, I don't know, somebody wanted to do a recount there last year, and they struck it down. They said no, we're not going to do a recount. Now he's trailing by less than he was leading, and he's demanding they do a recount.
Wait,
And
you
I was like,
know the best part?
if they said no to when, like last time when the margin was bigger, they're definitely
No,
not
the
going to say it
margin is
now.
smaller than that's more cause for a recount.
No, sorry, I messed it up. It was smaller last time, I meant to say.
Okay.
And then this time it's bigger. Yeah, and I was like,
Okay.
if they said no, they're definitely not going to say no again.
Yeah, Wisconsin will do a recount. There's no way Michigan does a recount. Michigan, like Biden won by like 100,000 votes. Like,
They're
Yeah.
gonna send. He tweeted out that he's setting Giuliani to like settle the lawsuit in Michigan, and the whole comment section is just flooded with Borat
yeah,
memes, and
like
I
will Sacha
cannot get
Baron
enough of
Cohen be
it.
there?
Yeah, I cannot get enough of that.
Premier
It's been,
Trump.
yeah.
Michael
Michael Penis.
Penis. Michael Penis, I bring a woman for you.
To make benefit of once great country or once glorious country of Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see like how that whole thing play out. I gotta say though, Chessa, I'm right there with you. Like my favorite thing to do like during the election is say, "Oh, what the fuck did Trump just say?" Because it's obviously something really idiotic. And like you can go to meme pages and get all your laughs, but if you go to Trump's Twitter, it's almost equally, if not more, humorous. Because you're like, "What outrageous, tyrannical bullshit is this man gonna meme about right now?"
Yeah.
Not even
fact.
meme, be serious, but I'm gonna just take it as a
The
meme.
thing is, what the dumb part about this election is like if Biden spoke that much publicly throughout the day, he'd probably say just as much crazy shit that didn't make sense.
I disagree. Actually,
Maybe not
I
as
respect
bad as
Biden.
Trump, but Biden is getting to a point in life where like
Yeah.
he's not
I
as
really
Funny thing is,
articulate as a
Biden
president
tries
should
not
be.
to sound crazy. Like he tries his best,
He's
but then
not
he'll
as
say stuff.
articulate as a president.
That's
Like
right.
when he's just
I
like
will.
he's poor kids have as much opportunity as white kids or some shit
He
like
said
that.
some crazy shit. Not gonna lie, but what I
Yeah.
respect is Biden's letting the election play out. You don't see Biden like making false claims before
Oh,
the
yeah.
votes are
Well, yeah,
counted.
obviously.
I really
Yeah.
I
do
mean,
that about Biden.
Yeah, no, he's just sitting back and sipping his prune juice and watching it all play out.
It's gonna be a
Guys,
short
you
night.
gotta you gotta listen to this tweet. So Trump tweeted this yesterday. How come every time they count mail-in spell wrong ballot dumps, they are so devastating in their percentage and power of destruction? Question mark, question mark. Like he literally tweeted like, why am I getting less votes?
yeah, like what's
And
he trying
everyone
to
responded
say?
like, bro, you're losing. Yeah, everyone responded was like, that means you're losing. Like, stop. It was so funny.
He's
And
calling
then
one
them
of the
everyone voted.
secret dump-ins. He's calling them secret dumps.
Yeah, in one of the
Yeah,
tweets
it's
in
like
the
the
comments.
secret ballots.
Yeah, in one of the comment sections, there's just like a bunch of women singers that are like, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they're just like posting like Queen posts on them and stuff. It's super funny. I love all the memes. All the political memes are super funny.
Yeah.
But
what's
I
it
think
called?
is so crazy about this election too. Like last election was pretty crazy, and I feel like I've been alive for like I don't even know how many now. Like I've only been able to vote in like one though, but this one I swear is the most fucked because not only are the candidates psychos like last election, but people are threatening to riot.
Yeah.
Like, I've
Yeah.
never seen this kind of shit where people are
Well,
like
this-
you literally like
To
yeah.
me,
I mean
the
to be
closest comparison is 2000 with Bush versus Gore. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but people
I guess it's a little
know that was
different,
nowhere
but-
near this divisive.
It was-
Yeah,
it was-
agreed. This is really bad, like how divisive this election is. Like people are talking about like a civil war after the
Yeah.
election is over. I'm
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
The
Well,
it's
Libertarian
literally
page.
two old
Yeah.
white dudes battling it out for the White House. This is the least Civil War-esque thing.
well, there was a political graph that was released by I think like one of the big institutes. But it was about like political discourse or civil discourse. And in comparison to before the Civil War, compared to now, it's actually the same. Like the buildup
Yeah.
from the 60s to now, from before them. But I don't know. I don't really understand why people say that. I don't think I would riot, but I think I would be very upset if
Yeah.
the ballot clearly states that Biden won and then Trump is like, no. I think that would maybe
Sure.
cause, I don't want to say reason for rioting, but I understand.
No, that would.
Oh,
You know, like,
Absolutely. No, that would cause
For
reason
office,
for
I'm
riot.
joining a militia too.
You know what else is
Same.
ironic about this whole election? Like, Trump is getting his lawyers all readied up and like suing multiple states, and Biden's probably got a team of lawyers to help overturn that bullshit. Guess what? That's all on our fucking dime. All the money we work and earn, taxpayer dollars. They're not paying for that out of their pockets. It's taxpayer dollars that get wasted on that, which could be going to like schools or trains or energy.
It's a great libertarian right
Like-
there. Abhi Patel.
But like instead we're gonna have months of debate of who actually won the fucking thing. Like,
Yeah.
That's why I say it reminds me of 2000 though, because it's
Yeah.
gonna be like a month before the dust is settled.
luckily
I think
Trump's
Biden will
brother
win,
isn't
but
a mayor of any state.
I just hope
Right.
people stay sane because this can go in a bunch of sideways directions, and I really hope it doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
and to me, this is the part that I really I will say I despise Trump for the way he's handled it because, like, there's always been a peaceful transition of power, and like Trump's like toying with the
Threatening
idea of
that. Yeah.
like he's toying with the idea that he's not going to leave office if he loses. Like,
Yeah.
and that's like terrible for democracy. Republicans,
Can't do
Democrats
that.
historically are like they'll always secede when it's time, or what do they call it? Is that seceding from the race, or what's it called? I think that's what it's called.
Concede.
Concede from the race. But yeah, I mean if things continue to go this way, like I'm really scared because
That's what I'm
Trump's
saying. Like,
Trump's kind of a maniac.
I'm no
Yeah.
Biden fan, but at least I feel like he respects, like Jake said, like he has like the diplomacy
Yeah.
and the like I
Respects
mean
the
he's been in
power of
government
the
his whole
office.
life, so he knows how to play
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
But still he at least has like he won't like I think they're both awful in the foreign
Isn't
policy.
that sad that
but
that's the
I
bar
feel
now?
like-
It's like peaceful transition of power is like
Yeah.
now the bar.
It's like
That's what I'm saying.
it's like peaceful transition of power. Take it or leave it.
I actually think, I think at least Biden, like as far as like on the diplomacy, Biden will like help us a little bit with reestablishing like other countries' respect for us. I don't think either are good with foreign relations. I think they both have fucked histories. But I think also as far as like doing like giving back to the American people, I feel like
Yeah.
Biden will like. I just feel like Trump doesn't give a fuck. And like what's
No,
funny
Trump
is that
doesn't.
his hardcore supporters, they act like he's like they like support him because they think he represents them because they don't give a fuck about anybody else, but he doesn't give a fuck about them either. That's the
Yeah.
irony. Like he's not like a working class, like he was
He's
born a
not-
billionaire.
Yeah. He's not the representative of the working class. That's the most
Yeah.
Small
delusional
loan.
shit.
Have $1 billion.
He was literally born a billionaire. Like,
Yeah. That's why I find it funny that so many poor areas support him because it's like what is he doing for you?
Dude, I always find that interesting. If you go into the election maps, like by state, Democrats always perform really well in urban areas, and then Republicans own the countryside.
yeah,
so it's
pretty
like
much.
it's always interesting to
Sorry.
see like rural areas are always red, and then the urban areas are always blue. I'm
Yeah,
always shocked.
like a few exceptions because like
There
rural
are.
No,
Democrat and Oklahoma City still like Republican and like Dallas.
There are a few, but
Well,
I'm saying
when I was in,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, when I was, my cat was running, as you can see,
Yeah.
when I was in Wyoming, like I was chatting with people there, and they didn't. I think I told you guys this before, but they didn't know who the Cheneys were, and they were like,
Isn't Cheney from Wyoming?
their family runs the state, and they don't know, because that was when I was getting my tire change fixed out, so
Yeah.
I was there for a few hours. But when I was in the area, there is so many political signs. They're all Republican, but for different Republicans.
Yeah.
And we were just shooting shit, and I was asking them about it, and I was like, well, what do you think about what Cheney did for during that administration, and they were like, "Who?" And I I just had a, huh,
Yeah,
what?
that's mental.
And
Cheney.
yeah,
Cheney.
so
Dick
it doesn't really
Cheney.
surprise me as much that that happens because when I was there, that's like kind of just how things go. They were just like, "Well, we vote Republican, and that's that. I don't care who's in charge or
Yeah, just
don't
blind
know
voting.
Yeah.
anything about."
Yeah.
See, I think
Yeah,
if we
which is
didn't
like
have,
you're right,
yeah,
but
if we didn't have, I think actually if we didn't have the well, the two-party system isn't just gonna disappear, but I
Sucks.
think it
Sucks.
does suck because it divides the country
Oh,
and it
it's
makes us, we're
terrible.
supposed to unite the country and all be American, but it makes you hate your neighbor just because of the other party.
Just because there's
But
only one other enemy, you know?
yeah,
Andrew Yang,
exactly. It's
run as a
fucked.
third party
Whereas if there were
candidate.
like
That's what I'm
4 or
saying.
5 enemies,
Well, here,
4 or 5
yeah,
of us
yeah.
would gang up
It'd be a
on
little
one.
better, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out with this. I actually think, because I used to be like a little skeptical about getting rid of the electoral college at first because I was like, all right, it does give smaller states a voice. But then once I
No,
like
you
looked
can't get
into it,
rid of the
I was like,
college.
this is dumb because the whole fucking country will be decided by only like 2 or 3 states. Like the fact that we're still
yeah,
waiting on
fuck it.
Pennsylvania and Nevada, like. At least Pennsylvania has some people, but Nevada, like, what the fuck? No, barely anyone lives there, and they're deciding the country for us.
Yeah,
And
But
I
the other
think that
thing
if we
is,
didn't have that, more third parties like libertarians and shit and independents would get in elected more if it was only by popular vote. Because like
yeah,
Nader back when he ran was really popular, and if Bernie ran third party, he probably would have also had a chance.
Okay, but with
at this point,
popular
I don't even
vote,
care.
like if New York and Cali pick someone, that person's probably gonna win.
Well, the other thing is,
A
like,
lot of people live
right
in
now,
Texas and Florida too, though.
the
Yeah,
thing is,
that's
though,
fair.
like, they don't have to campaign in half the states that are solid red or solid blue. They just know that they're locks and they don't have to make that many visits there. Like,
Yeah.
if you had it by popular vote, you would at least be forced to go to different parts of the country where you
Yeah.
priorly didn't go.
Well, it would be a change, but politicians will find some fucking schemy way to game the system.
Of course, they always do.
They just need some time to adjust. Give them like 5 years to disappoint us.
I
No
think
one's
third
talking about
party.
how McConnell got reelected. Like that's
McConnell
fucked.
and Graham got reelected.
Lindsey
I
Graham,
know.
too.
Fuck me.
It's so disappointing.
I know.
They
It's
telling Bert this earlier. They like know this is like what they would probably tell someone who doesn't know what they do as their day-to-day job. McConnell's probably like basically like, oh yeah, so being a politician, all I really do is I just like deny every legislation unless it fucking makes me money.
yeah.
It's so true. I was
Unless
just like,
it
what do I
boosts
do
my
for a
stock
living?
portfolio, like
What do I do for a living? I just deny bills from coming to the floor. I don't even care what they have on them. I just don't like bills.
Yeah, if it gives me money and power, I pass it. If it does anything else for anybody, it's getting rejected.
we don't need laws. What are laws for?
That's like honestly a third party's so overdue in this country. Like
Yeah.
in Europe, how many do they have in some of the countries? Like
Most
8 or
countries
Well, it
9?
have, like,
depends on the
5 major
country.
laws.
Yeah.
More
Dude,
small.
oh, I wish.
I will
We should
say-
also have ranked choice voting. Actually, ranked choice voting would
yeah.
One nice
Yeah.
surprise was Arizona. Arizona is blue through and through, House, Senate, and presidential race. That
Yeah,
was
which is
shocking.
Because
That was
it's always been red.
yeah. And
Yeah, there was a
Arizona's
lot of-
like notoriously like one of the most like hardcore
The most
red
red
states.
Dude, I think ranked choice voting would probably help libertarians more than any other party. Only
True.
because like if you think about it, if there's common ground between Democrats and Republicans, it'd be like, oh, well, obviously I'm not voting for Trump or obviously I'm not voting for Biden, but Joe Jorgensen.
I think
I
Joe
don't mind
Jorgensen was
voting.
actually winning some counties at least for a while. In some states, I forget where, but I remember seeing some counties that were like yellow where she was leading. I was like, no
Yeah.
way.
I think ranked choice voting might be the way to get a third party in the White House or just in a
Either
majority.
way, what we're doing right now sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird also, like, yeah, like I said, some upsets were like Arizona, and I was surprised that it was that close still. And like, but I thought Pennsylvania was always going to be blue. I don't even know why it's close there, because like Trump doesn't do shit for them. And people,
Yeah.
same thing with like
Yeah.
people in Ohio, like they don't like that area, like the former industrial areas. Like
Yeah,
Trump
like Trump
didn't-
hasn't brought any fucking jobs back. He hasn't done
No.
anything he's
Said he
We've
promised.
lost.
would.
Yeah.
We've actually lost jobs under
Yeah,
Trump. I
he's
forget
cut
what
more
the
clean
statistic is.
energy jobs and brought back. It's a net loss on jobs. like,
So dumb.
It doesn't make sense.
Also, like truckers being on the road, I saw truckers all the time. They love Trump, and I understand because when he was first getting, not understand, but when he first got elected, he was like, "We're gonna get benefits, we're gonna get, all these things," and he is it. Their industry has suffered so much under his
Yeah.
presidency and that type of workforce, and they're still like in love with the man, but he has done nothing but hurt them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
Trump wanted to drain that swamp. Fucking McConnell's still in there, Trump. What's McConnell
No, if
still
anything, the
doing there?
swamp's worse now because
Yeah.
I would argue like the quality of our democracy continues to go
I
down
think
every
the
year.
two bright sides
Shambles.
of Biden is Biden will refocus legislation on clean energy. He'll pass like subsidies and give more bonds out for clean energy. And the other thing Biden will do is he'll restore the power of the cabinet, the FBI, and the CIA, which I think are good things. The FBI and CIA gather information. They help keep us safe.
Yeah.
The cabinet. You don't think so? Well, it's a
to an extent.
it's a double-edged sword, but like most of
Yeah.
the information,
exactly.
most of the information we collect on the rest of the world is through CIA operation, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably
to
also
get
through
rid
the
of his-
NSA.
Yeah, but NSA
NSA
forces
is all
it.
data, though. It's
TSA
all
NSA is
computer.
a bunch
TSA
of
needs to
dickwads.
go away. TSA needs to go away. The whole what is it? The other one, ICE, that one needs to go away.
ATF.
Yeah,
ATF needs
ICE,
to go
ICE
away.
and ATF, like, why are they there? But
I want ATF completely gone.
also,
Well,
I also want the DEA cut in budget to a
I
large
want the
degree as well.
FCC gone.
the
too.
DEA should be cut in budget now that we're legalizing everywhere, or decriminalizing
Yeah,
at least.
Oregon. Oh no, was it
Saw
a
that.
few
It was
states
Oregon.
today passed everything? I was like, I should have visited that side of the state because they seem really cool.
Yeah.
Oregon's sick, low-key, because you can you have the right to assisted suicide, and then you also now have the right to all drugs are legal for personal use. So like,
Yeah.
Oregon looks like a vibe
A
right now.
libertarian's dream.
Yeah.
So Jake's moving.
I'll see you guys later.
I'd say the other good thing about Biden is he's going to restore like people with integrity back into cabinet positions and like as heads of different divisions of the government. So
Yeah.
that's something that like desperately needed to happen. Well,
I
I shouldn't say Biden will because it's not guaranteed yet. We're still banking on Nevada.
Yeah.
But
want
it's
Andrew
mostly
Yang as Secretary of Commerce. I want Andrew Yang in there,
Facts.
and maybe Secretary of State to Tulsi Gabbard.
no one
Those
we
are
I
the
would
want
say
will
that.
get the cabinet's positions we want them to get. That's just
If Andrew Yang doesn't get a cabinet position, I will be upset. Like
he
I will
was,
be very
he
upset.
was a part of
if he doesn't.
Obama's cabinet actually.
He was.
He might.
That's why I would be.
Biden might bring
And
him
Biden,
on.
Biden and Yang were actually close during the primary. He said that he had a really close personal relationship with Joe Biden.
I would like
Boys.
Biden to bring him on. That would be amazing.
That'd be like a dream. I'd be like, I don't care. I support Andrew Yang. You have my support.
Yeah, he could be the Secretary of the Interior.
No. I think he should be
Nah, it's
Commerce
like, yeah,
Secretary.
Commerce,
Secretary
yeah.
of Commerce.
I imagine that's why he's been somewhat apolitical since, like during the Democratic pick, like once he knew he wasn't going to be it. I think that's why he was a little bit more low key than other people because he was aiming for a position later on.
Yeah, he's one of those assassins,
I mean,
low-key,
he's a
where he
brilliant
knows what he
mind.
wants,
Yeah.
and he like
Yeah.
he's got to drive
Sneaks in
out
there.
and what have you.
Actually, on his podcast, on the 2nd, he released an episode. It's called like Yang Speaks. And everything he said about the upcoming election was like spot on. Like he said he thinks it's going to come down to like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois. Like that whole area.
Illinois
right
is
there.
not a swing state, dude.
Or not Illinois.
It's a solid
It is
blue
Minnesota,
state.
But
Ohio,
it's
maybe.
that wall right there. That wall of states. Like he also predicted that if the counting takes forever, like if it's a close race and it takes a long time, that would definitely skew towards Biden's side because that means more mail-in ballots are getting counted.
Yeah.
So those were his two main points, and like he was right. He was pretty accurate on that.
Yeah, I
He's a
like his
smart
podcast
guy.
a lot.
Yeah.
Did Biden ever come to New Hampshire for campaigning recently?
I don't know
recently.
actually.
Because I
I
feel
know
like
recently,
Trump
but he
was there
must have.
way
Well, the
more.
thing is, I did see a few Instagram stories, and I know that Trump came like right before the election, like
Yeah.
maybe November 1st or October 31st. It might have been one of those days, but it was
I
like
actually
right
thought New
before.
Hampshire might have gone. I thought there was a chance they would have gone for Trump.
No, actually, New Hampshire is becoming less and less of a swing state as the elections go on. It's turning more solid blue. The only thing that they went red on this election cycle was governor. The Senate
And
went.
New.
Yeah, Sununu. Well, the thing is, I think a lot of people like some of his policies, like his gun policies and his income tax policies, because to be honest, New Hampshire's pretty anti-government to a large degree.
Yeah, it's kind of
So
libertarian, right?
Sununu
Yeah.
fucking legalized weed, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I-
dude, they
yeah.
had something got killed in the state legislature. There was a bill that was going to get passed to legalize marijuana, but it got killed
Yeah,
on the floor.
Sununu killed it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He
I think he vetoed it.
He
Yeah, he
vetoed it. It
vetoed
didn't
it.
get killed on the floor. He
Fucking.
vetoed
Oh yeah,
it.
it didn't.
That sucks.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
kind of a dickwad with that.
Jackass.
Come on, be a
Hey,
libertarian.
but at the same time, like Massachusetts, the taxes, I went to the dispensary like legally for the first time the other day. The taxes are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
weed here, it was like 50 bucks,
Everything.
and then when I paid, it was like 75. I was like, what the fuck is
That's
going
like why
on?
the government is like so for it because they can tax the
Yeah.
shit.
You guys will actually be
Yeah,
happy.
in,
I'm
in
changing my.
economics, they're like, oh, if you go buy on the black market, it's way more expensive because of taxes. It's like, not with weed.
You guys have a new Mass resident on the call because I'm actually changing my residency to Massachusetts. I'm in the process of getting my driver's license in Mass,
Really?
and I already
Hello.
changed it on my tax info.
Yeah.
Come to the
So
bright
yeah,
side.
so I've come, but the thing is, like I will say on taxes at least, New Hampshire was so much more of a tax haven than Massachusetts. It's not.
Yeah,
even-
so I'm surprised you.
Wait, why'd you decide to
I
do
switched
that?
because I'm gonna be living here for the foreseeable future, so I'd rather
Yeah.
have my records in Mass, and I'll be working here, living here, so it made sense until I moved back to New Hampshire.
Yeah,
Because after college, I'm gonna stay in Mass too, so I figured I'd get it done now.
that makes sense.
Nice little awkward moment.
That's rare on this show, dude. We just
We're
all
just
don't
letting
talk.
it
It's rare.
sink in. Jake, the most like New Hampshire kid out of everyone, is like changing.
He's like,
Finally.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
does
Yeah,
that mean you have to be a Democrat now, or?
it means I'm gonna be a You guys are welcoming a libertarian who's socially liberal and economically centrist. I would call maybe a little bit more Republican for tax cuts and stuff, but
I would just say, I think I'm economically centrist. You're more economically center, right?
yeah, probably. But definitely socially, I support everything Democrats stand for. I think Republicans
Except for
take,
censorship.
take,
Fuck.
like,
Republicans are
the
still
whole
living
Bible.
in
they take the Bible and they're like, "What does God say?"
Yeah,
And
no,
then they're like, "All right, this is the mold you have to fit, and if you don't fit the mold, then you are not in our party."
This is like there's one
think-
way you can read Republicans. It's like if they're super gung ho about something, like super against gay marriage or super against abortion, that probably means they've done it in their life. Like that probably means they've like asked a woman to get an abortion for them, or like like want to marry someone else like that's their same gender as them.
They're like those Santa
That's how
Barbara
you figure
girls.
out.
They're
Yeah.
like that for the specific
Like,
issue where they
the
like
more
they like
gung ho a
gossip and are
Republican is
anti
against an
something.
issue, that's what they're into. That's how
Nah,
Republicans
like
are built. Like,
I told a B about this. Like, the most shocking thing when I was on the road for me, and the most humiliating for them, like, so on the side of my van, it's, you guys know, but it's white and it has huge windows. So it's like, I'm going to write on the side of it so it's less creepy white van.
yeah.
And it says, be the reason someone smiles today, because I pass by like thousands of people every day. One side's in English and one side's in Spanish. And when I was in the Rust Belt, like in heavy Republican areas, and like, first of all, super sketchy because it'd be corn forever. And then they just have these old barns that have these huge crosses on them. So
Yeah.
like bad vibes. But I had so many people. I'd be at like a gas station, and the Spanish side is on the driver's side where my gas tank is. So that's like where I would fill things up. The amount of people I had come up to me and be like, oh, like make some sort of like politically charged racist comment about words being in Spanish on my car. And then I'd be like, bitch, it says be the reason someone smiles today. Like, stop being an asshole. And they'd be like, oh, fuck you, liberal. And I'd be like, what? Or like, like,
I
I'm
hope
not
you-
kidding.
Wait, this
You guys
this was
don't
in rural
understand.
areas, right?
It was all
Or
over
in
the
cities?
country. It wasn't no, mostly rural areas. It was only Republican
Okay.
areas. And
I
I
was gonna
think a
say the
lot
cities over there are not that fucking.
not as bad. No. But like I think a lot of it was because of masks, but like people also is it like
That mass
uh
play probably.
Yeah, it was that
called me the
mask.
C word. I don't know if I can say
Oh
that, but
Jesus.
like I had
Yeah,
people
you can
call me the
say
C word.
anything on
And,
here.
all right, good. I love the word cunt. But I had people call me an un-American cunt in a gas station for wearing a mask because no one else wore them. I was like, you guys need to like take a breather, like tone it
I
down a
don't get
bit.
it.
Like
It's
the Rust
worn
Belt.
masks multiple
Dude,
times. Spanish flu, we wore a mask. Mustard gas in World
That's
War
what I was
One, we
trying to
wore a
say.
mask.
It's like
Clear
an
it was
scare, we
just
wore.
so
ideological
weird.
takeover of logic.
Yeah, like they would all the comments would be like un-American or like liberal, like something, some sort of like bad comeback, and I'd just be like, the fuck? Are you kidding me right now?
Dude,
Like it was just
in
bizarre.
any other
It was
time, no one would say shit. We're in like a public health
yeah.
crisis, but like now everything has to be like
Yeah,
some
because
politically motivated like
I hate how
sentiment.
everything's political. How the fuck is like stuff like the environment and viruses political?
Yeah.
Dude, a virus like actually Abby can get into this better than I can, but like how can you politicize a virus? It
It
affects
Yeah.
only
everyone.
affects the
I
Democrats,
don't
bro.
Yeah.
understand it.
Why they're the ones who need the
Like
mask.
a virus
I'll be
doesn't give
so
a
into
fuck
this.
if you're Democrat or Republican. Virus
Yeah, but it
virus
doesn't get
doesn't fucking care.
libertarians, bro.
Like,
'Cause-
oh, I
I'll
love
never
that in
forget.
Borat 2 when Sacha Baron Cohen's like, I see the virus, and he's like banging it against her
Just like
wall.
hitting it with a pan.
Yeah.
He's like, what is more dangerous, virus or Democrats? I'm like, Democrats.
Definitely Democrat.
They're like,
Definitely Democrats.
Guys, there was like billboards in the Rust Belt that would say, oh my God, my favorite one. There was this one where like it was Nancy Pelosi, but with demon horns and like red eyes. And there was like flames in the back. And these were like multiple
You're
billboards.
not wrong with that one.
It was lit.
True.
It
They
was
should have
fun.
had McConnell right
But
up next to her.
the
Same thing
comments
going on.
the comments on it were like they changed. They were like each billboard was the same picture but a different text. But they would be like the Democrats made up COVID to like mess up Trump's like re-election and stuff. Like it's a conspiracy. And these were on like major billboards after each other. It was just a whole other world. And sometimes I'd be driving like I am so scared right now. Like what if I like breathe too much while the window's down and like the COVID just comes in? Like it was so weird to have that type of like science is so hated, you know?
Yeah.
I was like,
Maybe it's
terrible.
good you weren't in the
Oh,
South
I
then.
love it.
I avoided it for that reason.
That was the other great part of Borat 2
'Cause the
at the
COVID
end where
cases.
it's like the Karen comes out with like an AR-15 and there's a scientist and they're like in America where they kill the scientist. Oh man. That
That's
was
actually, if I could get back to one point, like the biggest thing that's terrible about like Trump being elected in the first place is like this leaves a president after he leaves office, like the way you can treat a presidency, like a way that you can science deny, you can like be very vocal about like things that are largely false, and then like get not even get away with it, but rile your base enough to where they'll just not accept
Well, I mean,
factual
I think-
information.
I think what it's really speaking to is how lacking our system of education is throughout the country. Like people don't know who our vice presidents are. People don't know who's making decisions that affect their lives. Like why don't our schools teach that? Why don't our schools tell people what's going on? That's insane.
We wanted to get rid of Bush and see more dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, we wanted less of Bush, more dick.
Like in school, we learned about like the revolution like 4 times, like 4 different
Yeah.
times at 4 different periods
Yeah,
of
we
my
got-
life. Like why?
yeah,
the
and there's
point?
so much. It's so like American centrist too.
Yeah.
Actually,
education
Alex, I wanted to
system.
mention something because I remember, Chessa, you mentioned a town in Colorado that had like, was it more of like a Native American tribute or like areas where they were promoted?
Yeah, that was just like a really cool mixture of a town, but I went to pretty much complete areas at the Grand Canyon and like in Utah and Arizona more so than Colorado.
Yeah. And Alex, the question I had for you is, I know in Massachusetts you obviously know a lot about the native populations, and like you tried to have an article posted. I mean, maybe you don't want to, but can you like
I
talk
won't go
about
into
like,
too much detail, but so I've tried to publish stuff before for certain media outlets. Because I do, it's like I think people know by now on here, but I write articles on journalist major. So I've tried to have stuff published before about Native Americans in Mass and kind of how they're still there. They're still like a strong community. They're a small community, but they lack a lot of representation, I think. And it's funny because Mass, like everything's named after natives. So I tried to publish that, how they need more representation. And I was told that like it was too controversial to publish it in the summertime, and that like because in the not specifically because it was summer. I meant to say last summer because of like George Floyd and those riots. But yeah, they said that like yeah, I shouldn't like. They were saying that people would come at us for like a white person speaking on native issues, but I was just like, I talked to them, like I spoke with them. I saw a shit that they
but you
directly.
did publish an article in the Suffolk Journal talking about how
Yeah,
you think
now it's public in
statues,
Suffolk. Yeah,
yeah,
there's not
and how
enough
you,
statues, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to like get your take on that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I thought that they lack a lot of representation, like Chessa was saying earlier. Like at Mount Rushmore, for example. I mean, I know now. I think there's a statue of Crazy Horse at Mount Rushmore, but it's still like it's like compensating by
I'm
adding that.
not, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like you guys know I have a mix of political views, and I do have a love-hate relationship with this country, so I don't know. Anyone who doesn't know me,
Don't
don't
we
take it the
all?
wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I was at Mount Rushmore, I was joining in with the Native community protests and like flipping people off and stuff, and there was just people with like Trump flags there, like screaming at him, saying like, okay, the thing too, when
What are
they
they gonna
say
say?
go,
Go back to your own country? They're just gonna
no,
look
that's
around.
the thing. That's the thing.
Like, wait a
I'm like,
minute.
Just be like, oh, can I burn your house down then? Like,
And
it's
be like,
like,
no,
oh,
actually,
did you
you should
just
go back to your
say
country
that?
back in England.
Yeah.
It's just, you know,
yeah.
it's just how do you make that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. You
I
can't
think,
really argue with a native
yeah, I
on
feel so bad
on that
for
issue.
how much the populations of native has been decimated. And we really, to be honest, I don't think the U.S. has done a good job allocating land for Native Americans either. Like,
Yeah.
No.
a lot of the times they give lands where it's largely swamp areas or undesirable housing locations, and I think that that's
Yeah,
a terrible
reservations have a
con.
lot of problems on them too. I've been to a couple, and like there's just a lot of issues. Like it's like not what people like. There's some historical reservations that are pretty cool still, where they still live the old lifestyles, but a lot of them are modern. Like and they're kind of just like low. A lot of them have like low income housing problems. Like a lot of people like that's why they get into stuff like casinos because they have different laws on the reservation, so they can make a lot more money. And
I
it's
think
just
in a
like
perfect world, the government would expand the reservation system and grant more lands to Native Americans.
yeah,
In a
and let
perfect,
them kind of work on helping them out more because reservations have different laws, like they get neglected a lot. And actually, I feel like that's a community that really like the elections don't even really matter to them because they get kind of screwed either way. They just get neglected, like their interests are not addressed very often.
Do you
yeah.
guys know that if say an American were to go onto a large reservation area and murder someone, that if the policing system in place there, which is often like it's not anything like the United States
Oh
police,
no,
you know what I
it's
mean?
not.
It's usually it's a community policing thing. It's but if an American, right, like that has no idea that they're went onto the community, killed someone or harmed someone, which happens all the time, and just left, like nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
the US is like, oh, it's not our problem. Like, how does that guys,
Like
guys, like
John
Yeah, because they
real.
treat
Grisham.
it like it's another country.
John
Yeah,
Grisham
it's
has
like
this book called The Whistler. Like, although John Grisham's writing is like mainstream and shit, that book is very enlightening in terms of like how Native American reservoirs are and like how they get treated and like the animosity between like the area around them, and like it speaks to a lot what like kids who grow up on the reservations kind of think about. Then again, I've never met anyone from a reservoir from a reservation.
Reservation.
Yeah.
You're saying like fucking reservoir.
I was
Guy
like,
in
what?
Fox, bro.
It's like a water system.
Yeah.
I just
No.
they at the very
Said a
least
few
deserve
commercial waters.
like the same shit. I know.
Yeah.
Like clean water shouldn't be a struggle for them. Like
It'd actually be
guys,
interesting to see
I
if
mean,
some
clean
of the
water is a
interior-
struggle for like the common Alabaman American. So
Because like Trump's open to open the interior to like excavation and like coal mining and stuff. But what if we allocated lands instead of giving it to that, or like the Keystone Pipeline, and gave some land to native tribes? Like I feel like that'd be way cooler and like way more of a give back to the part of the community that's been kind of
And it would be
abused.
but
smarter,
our
too,
government
because
won't do
you're not
that
making
even
it.
if Biden wins. Like
That's true.
yeah, they don't
That's what I'm
care. It's
saying.
they
really
don't give a
sad.
shit.
I do so many things differently.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's so many groups of people in America that I feel like they don't even really care who wins the election because they're going to be like screwed over either way.
Alrighty. I think with that, are we gonna move into lessons of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Alright.
dark
that?
ending, but we'll move on. So
I
who wants
forgot.
to start?
That's a good one. I forgot.
So my lesson of the week is gonna be don't make up your mind too quickly. So it's gonna be like you gotta take some time to think things through before you do them. Think about the possible repercussions maybe before you make a choice, and think about how it's gonna affect you in the long term.
Yeah.
It's a lesson
That's a
I
good-
could probably start implementing a little more.
I guess my lesson is go where you're valued and where you want to be, because like becoming a mass resident, like in this short period of time, like within the last few weeks, I think it made me realize that for the foreseeable future, I'm obviously going to be living in Mass. So take advantage of all the opportunities and just being a resident here. Like parking's cheaper. If you're a resident here, I mean, taxes are higher. Fuck me. But I mean, I'm obviously going to stay in the state for a while. So I mean, just know where you're valued.
Bert, do you have one?
Still kind of thinking for one. Still kind of
Chessa, do you
give
have
me a
one?
moment here.
Oh, I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but if you'd like to.
I think kind of like Jake. Sounds same, I guess. Like know when you're respected. Like this week, I had a lot of people that I didn't realize didn't give a shit about certain things with the whole election going on. You know, like I don't know. I had a lot of views change where people kind of made it clear that they didn't care about certain like either gay or women's issues, and I was like, oh, I
thought
didn't
you were mean they were
realize.
just non-political. I didn't.
No, I mean, I have different opinions on that, but I mean, like, people become vocal during times like this on, like, kind of things they usually are quiet about. So, like, this week, myself and a lot of other people were like, oh, you're, we're not going to talk anymore. So, I
Yeah, a
guess
bit of
mine
a
would be,
dickhead. I think. Yeah.
yeah, like, know when you're respected. Like, don't let people walk over you, I guess.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line, because on the show we're like so for like being able to say whatever you want, but if someone was like offending people to like the point where they're insulting like their gender or ethnicity or something, that's where I draw the line. But yeah. Other than that, the one thing I will say with what Jake said earlier, the one thing typically besides in those cases where it's like hateful things being said, the one time I usually don't agree with socially liberal is censorship. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that.
I'd say that's the
I
main
think
thing.
that-
I hate that we've come to a point in our country where the internet is supposed to be something so freeing and open, and people
Yeah,
are like,
they're using it
like,
just like
Gotta
you
get
should
a
never
VPN.
say that. You can't say that. Sure, I mean, it might be awful to hear, but without hearing that, you don't learn how bad
won't know what's
people
out
are
there.
in the world. Yeah, like,
yeah, and you won't get enough people to
we
shut
can't
them up.
shelter ourselves from reality.
Use Tor, everyone. The government and companies are mining your data. Use Tor. Use Bitcoin. Keep your anonymity as much as you can.
Also, all right. So my lesson of the week, I guess, is stay persistent. So where this is coming from is last year I was like super on top of like resumes and applications and stuff, and like it's just like I got an internship, but nothing like I was really expecting or hoping for. So this year I just kind of like I really procrastinated. I just took time to like look at myself and like what I want to develop and like what kind of skills I can deliver value on, and then I finally made my resume this week and I finally know what I'm really looking for. So now I'm just hyper focused. I'm going to get back on that grind of reaching out to people and networking and everything again.
It's so wholesome.
Yeah.
I'm proud, Bert.
Yeah.
Proud.
Boys growing up.
I know.
So everyone
touched.
who's watching the show, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Chessa, we want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome. Really good episode.
Course.
I think the viewers will really like that one. And that was Straight No Chaser, episode 15. Thanks, everyone.
Like
Tune
and
in
subscribe.
next week.